Hey guys, well I'm going to try and take my time over this because this one is pretty deep. It's a collection of stuff that I feel like I've been shown recently over the last month or two. Some of the things I've been sitting on, kind of put them all together, dreading it in some ways, dreading it because of the depth of information. Firstly, because I want to handle this information correctly, and I pray that I do. And secondly, because it's probably going to set a few people off in terms of, well, people with their different reasons, mainly pagans and people of the occult belief get very angry at some of this sort of information being shown in this way. Partly because it proves Jesus Christ is the Messiah. And it proves that their master Lucifer is defeated, and was defeated on the cross, which is partly why I think some hate Paul's teachings, because Paul told us how Christ defeated the curse. And I hoped in a deeper way to show that. Not that the occult information is good, because this information was actually brought to mankind by the fallen. But in actual fact, you can twist it round on itself. You can use the occult, expose the occult, to show why Christ is the Messiah. Use the occult against itself. And that's certainly my hope and plan. And what I feel the Father is certainly working through me with. And I always pray, I pray, that any truth that I bring, that all that I bring would be the truth and would be from the Father. But please discern these things yourself. Please take these things to Him. Please research yourself. And if these things in any way are helpful to anyone out there, then that is just amazing. And I hope people can take some of the information and use it themselves to show why Christ is the truth. Take it deeper, just with His Holy Spirit, guys. Because we're in the time that the Luciferian information is rising, and this is being counteracted by the truth of the gospel, because the gospel runs far deeper than anything. The truth that Christ defeated the curse, it should, because it's the truth. So I'm going to show you some things here. Dimensional tower. In this reality, we're in the belly of the beast. And we needed rescuing from the Messiah, who came to us, humbled himself, became flesh, and took on the curse for us here in the flesh and rose again. But the dimensional tower, remember Tau, as in T, like the cross, Tau. The dimensional tower. These things coincide with the Tower of Babel, for example. Planes of existence. Here I've got seven planes of existence. Levels, 7 levels, like we see in Avicii on their album cover. It has levels with the number 7 in it, if you go and check it out. Levels with the number 7 in it, and on the top it's got, on the picture it's got an elevator, like the up and down, going up and down the different levels in the tower. And this is what I believe we're part of here, as I'll show in a deeper way. Now, not that I got these things from any occult book. This is the only occult book I've got, actually. But here, the 10 planes of being. You know, we keep seeing so much about planes at this time. Planes of existence, the collide of dimensions with CERN and stuff like that. A lot of plane stories. But if you look in here, in this 10 planes, check this out. You've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 planes. 7 levels here. But you know, the Crowley wrote a book called 777. All of these things have big significance to them. But anyway, moving on. This is what I feel I've been revealed more recently. A kingdom divided against itself. That is what we're in. I've drawn it here, these same 7 levels as going from black to white. Remember the pillars, dimensions we're talking here, like a big battery here, from minus to plus, like a big battery, and going from black to white, the dualistic paradigm of everything here, the opposites. So you'd essentially have, at the bottom you'd have Cain's house, you'd have hell, the black, the beast, Satan, going to the counterfeit heaven at the top, which plus and minus, Lucifer, Satan, that same whole paradigm of the spiritual, and basically it's going, it's a grey area, it's going from black to white, it's a grey area in between, and these being dimensions. So look what you've got here, you've got Satan black, Lucifer white, male black, female white, material black, spiritual white, bad, false good, dark, false light, visible light. It's all part of the spectrum of where we are. The whole thing, this is the womb here, the black void, built on sinking sand, the sands of time. This is a house built on sinking sand, because you've got the barren land in the womb. Please watch some of the other videos if you haven't heard of some of these things, they might become clearer. But yeah, just basically that's what I think we're in here. These different levels. When when they say like a higher consciousness, level above human, higher consciousness, it's all within this essentially dualistic cube, black and white cube. This whole thing, the belly of the whale. But it is all essentially still stuck in the same thing. No matter how high up you go, you're still within this dualistic beast kingdom built on sinking sand, as Christ said, because his house is built upon the rock, whereas this built upon the sinking sands. Maybe these are tighter and tighter cubes, more oppressive as you go down, I don't know. But they say Avicii itself, the term in Buddhism means is actually a cube, and it's the lowest level of hell. So the black cube and the white cube. The black cube and the white cube. Heaven, false heaven, and hell. So, moving on from that, I'm going to take this into the Twin Towers a little bit as well. This goes so deep, guys, but let's give it a go. Okay, so 9/11 Twin Towers. So you had on 9/11, you had the two towers, big event IXXI 9/11, which IXXI is the gate, as I'll show, but it's 9/11 in Roman numerals. So you've got the male and the female tower. You had one tower that was slightly taller than the other, but this is representing the male and female aspects. As you've got here, it's all part of this one tower, and this is an androgynous male and female spectrum, androgynous. So here you had the representation of the two individual, male and female, that was rebuilt into one. It was destroyed and rebuilt into one. The South Tower, the Queen of the South. All these things have very deep spiritual connotations. Like Christ says, the Queen of the South will rise up and this generation and judge it and condemn it. Just all of these things have really deep meanings. So the IXXI is the gate. So what you've got there is the Freemason. You'll be familiar with this probably, the Freemasonry symbol. The G in the centre and the two pillars, the two towers there. And of course that is IXXI in itself, IXXI, and that is the gate. Something I was looking into actually is quite strange, just on a side note. TT, like the two crosses, Twin Towers, two crosses, and the Y in the centre, like on YouTube you've got the Young Turks, and that's Jesus, the replication of Jesus hanging between the two crosses either side. my good friend was telling me about that before, but it's interesting. Twin towers on 9/11. This ritual of bringing down the two pillars, like Samson pushed down the two pillars. That's what the G is in the centre. That figure, the Antichrist, that will push the son of Sam, Samson, son of Sam, Samael, son of Satan, pushing down the two pillars, which of course represents time, and all these different things, male, female, everything, breaking the veil of time, because they want to bring through the ox, time and space gate. They want to bring open portals and the pit, essentially. And of course 9/11 was the beginning of the police state. So, as I said, IXXI, we've got a third pillar in the centre there, so 3 pillars. IXXI, Roman numerals. What's interesting is 9/11/2001 equals 23, and 9/11 3 BC, which is when I believe Christ was born, equals 23. So 9/11/2001, 3 AD and 3 BC. Quite a mirror there, if you can obviously see that. 2323, of course, all these things are to do with chromosomes as well. So I want to just talk about briefly again, when they brought down these two towers, the North Tower male, you've essentially got as above there, South female, so below. It's all of these things. So when these were brought down and built into one, you would have that, which is the gate. Remember, even alchemy, fire, water, all these things, as above, so below. The mirror. Really, really powerful ritual, one would imagine. The energy levels across the whole world were measured when this happened, and there was a significant increase across the world, a spike in energy, emotional energy, generated by this event. So you can see why they do it. This is also, remember there was building 7, ironically. Building 7. The 3 strands, we're talking of the third strand of DNA here, 3 into 1. The third temple stuff. The 3 pillars. The 3 strands into 1. Because that was really weird. A lot of people were confused why that third tower was just taken down. And it's pretty interesting to say the least. So we'll go on to that maybe in a bit. Tower of Babel, gateway to the gods. As in the material, so in the spiritual. When they built the Tower of Babel, they were trying to reach a higher dimension and form a gateway, build their own tower. Remember, as in the spiritual, as in the material, so in the spiritual. We're talking of that tower, aren't we? Tower with Lucifer at the top. Remember, the Tower of Babel, Lucifer at the top in the Bible. But the first shall be last, unfortunately, for the beast and for Lucifer. But look at this. So the tower, Lucifer at the top. So we're going back into the Tower of Babel. Now, but chances are you probably haven't seen this portrayed like this before. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll get some increased attacks for showing things like this. I don't know. But I've never seen it portrayed like this before. I was just experimenting with these things on paper and just asking to be shown things always. I think, so what I did is I did 7 levels of planes of existence. It's like when you see it in the 3-dimensional here, it's like compartments there. And these, I believe, are representing dimensions, because I drew each level, each 7 levels as tesseracts, the cube within the cube. And what you're left with is quite interesting, really. And so you can see why bringing down those towers was so significant on 9/11, because I don't know if you remember, firemen were describing each level as coming down like a pancake, like boom, 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 collapsing in on itself. So the whole, as I've shown before, can't remember which video, it was quite a while ago, but the whole Kabbalistic tree is a tower, a three-dimensional tower. So you can see how this is dimensional. It's also like Jacob's ladder, like the rungs of a ladder. Climbing up the rungs of the ladder like the stairway to heaven. But of course the stairway to heaven is counterfeit. And this is all about Lucifer's kingdom. It's nothing of the Father. This is not Christ's kingdom. This is what Christ came into and got us out of this whole, you know, all of it. You'll see as we go more into Christ in a second. But so the towers, 23 chromosomes. The two towers on 9/11, 23 chromosomes. So 23, 23 equals 46. Remember, George Bush, I think it was, read Psalm 23, and Obama read Psalm 46 at the memorial. So it's all about this, the parents, the chromosomes, the 46 chromosomes creating the child. But look at this, building 7. Remember those 3 strands I was talking about, the 3rd strand of DNA? Like, we're getting, there was a BBC news report recently talking about 3 parents to a child, 3 parent with children, DNA modification and all that. Well, the 3rd strand, so that would make it 23, 23, 23, because the 3 buildings that came down, 3rd strand, which equals 69. 23, 23, 23. 69 combined together makes infinity 8. And of course the 3rd strand, you know, transhumanist, all that kind of stuff, transfigured, false, counterfeit, transfigured bodies in Lucifer or in Satan or whatever, becoming one with the infinite, the 3rd strand, one with infinity, which is with this place, with this whole thing. This whole thing is actually the 8. It's a loop. It's the 8. It's the infinity. So Infinity Inc. And it's all that black goo stuff, you see, is all about becoming one with the infinite. Basically one with the fallen, this whole fallen place, reaching a higher level on the rungs of the ladder, from the black to the white. You see how it's all the same thing? It's a house built on sinking sand. So let's move on to Christ. With Christ, okay, so with Christ, there's a reason he died on the cross. As I've shown before, there's a reason Christ died on the cross. The cross itself isn't a good thing, it's actually their symbol. But that's because he had to fulfill everything he came to do. He had to fulfill everything that needed fulfilling in order to break us free from this curse. So as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up. The caduceus, the snake on the pole, which represents time. So with the snake on the pole, the caduceus, like Aaron's rod, the cross itself, when drawn like this, just the same as the Kabbalistic tree when you have the circles on each of the points, the cross itself, what is the cross? The cross is the anchor. The cross is the sword in the stone. And that is the sword in the stone. Right there, that is the sword in the stone. This is that tower again, guys. This is that tower that fits all through these things. The Kabbalistic tree, this cross is in the centre, and the tower. All of this is the same thing. So the cross, when drawn like that, is representing the sword in the stone of the tower. So the sword in time, this is time and space stuff. This is what the fallen problem that we're in, of the ox, is not Christ's kingdom. So the sword in the stone. What is the sword in the stone? The sword in the cube, which needs to be removed to break through time and space. It needs to be removed. So if you can imagine pulling this sword out of here, the entire thing will collapse on each other. Pretty similar to what happened on 9/11. The pancake collapse, but the dimensional, this is all dimensional, and at the bottom here we have the barren land, the womb, the belly, the abyss, the land of Nod, Cain, the master of that house. So there you have it, guys, and that's why Christ died on the cross. That is why Christ died on the cross, because he was spiritually, I don't know if you've seen the ancient Egyptian symbol, the ankh, the anchor. He was spiritually anchoring himself. When he died on here, he spiritually anchored himself to the depths of nothing for us, to the separation, complete separation, a millstone tied around his neck by his own choice, to be anchored spiritually to the depths of nothing, to effectively go back to source, plant, had the seed of the Father. Remember, we've all got the void within us without Christ. The seed of the Father, to plant the seed of the Father, that when you accept Christ can be watered by the living water. Correlation, remember guys, correlation, as above so below, as in the spiritual so in the material. Correlation, that source, the nothingness, the emptiness is within us until we accept Christ, and his living water will grow the new seed to become a child, a son or a daughter of the real Father. And that's how you need to be born again. You need to renew, become of the Father's family, adopted into the Father's family, because we're not by default, you see, because what Christ did was he earthed himself spiritually by choice to save you, and then rose again from death, the tomb, the womb, rose again, put himself last. So spiritually earthed, spiritually anchored, Christ became the curse. Christ became the curse. So to break through, you see, because when Christ died, he said, I came to bring a sword. And this is another representation of the same thing. The sword through the 8, infinity. The sword in the stone. He came to bring a sword. And he said, those that live by the sword shall die by the sword. But he wasn't talking about something as trivial as some might think. This is very deeply spiritual language. The sword in the stone, which Christ is the only one that has ever and will ever successfully defeat everything that he needed to. So time and space, the curse, the problem, Satan. Christ had to break through the veil. Christ had to break through time and space, and that's what all that represented. So picture this. When Christ died on the cross, picture this. Christ says, into your hands I commend my spirit, into the Father's protection I commend my spirit. Then he dies. It is finished. And he bows his head and dies. Suddenly, the flesh, he's finished. There's always a correlation, guys. There's never just, it doesn't just stop with the material or the flesh. It doesn't just stop with that. There's always a spiritual mirror or correlation. What you bind on earth is bound in heaven. There's always a correlation. You can't end it there. You can't say that there was nothing spiritual to what Christ did, because the spiritual just goes beyond. So when Christ died, there was a massive earthquake, because he became the curse. He became the curse of the ox, and he became sin. And he cracked through time and space. The veil ripped. Remember, there's always a correlation. The veil in the material, the veil in the spiritual. The veil ripped. He ripped through, there was a massive earthquake. Boom, you know, just massive, almighty earthquake. Because of what was happening. What was happening? The dead saints came out of their graves as he went through, ripped the veil, and the black cube that the Pharisees, the satanic, the father of which was Satan, the Pharisees had a black cube that was ripped open because Christ was ripping open time and space. The sword in the stone, guys, cracked through, and he was spiritually anchored. The black sun appeared, remember. He was spiritually anchored into the depths of nothing. Remember his death, like the red heifer, the ox. With this cross as well, before I move on, this cross as well, you've got to think that these things cover so many mysteries. It's like Nimrod. The phallic piercing the firmament, the membrane, the obelisk, all of these things, the obelisk, the tower, the phallic, piercing the membrane above. There are so many reasons, so many reasons, which I've been into also in other videos, which I've not said anything here. But there's so many reasons that Christ died on the cross. Before we move on, Kabbalistic tree. Kabbalistic tree. In the Kabbalistic tree, this is Darth, the abyss. The abyss. Christ took on the curse, spiritually and physically. Darth, the abyss, in the centre there. Christ was, it's just amazing. The new tree of life, true life, planting the seed. His flesh, like the flesh of the new fruit that we can take in and will lead us to real everlasting life. The other thing the cross is an anchor. This also north, northeast, southwest.